Welcome to the teacher feature of the Nancy Peters Show on Southbridge Street Live. Each week, I'm interviewing a teacher from the Crossroads area. Join me on Tuesday mornings to learn more about our dedicated educators. Welcome to the Nancy Peters Show, and this is the teacher feature edition on Southbridge Street Live. Every week, I interview and introduce a different teacher. We have so many fabulous teachers in the Crossroads area, and it's just such a delight to let you know more about them, some of the things happening in the classroom, and some of the adventures that they've had as a teacher. We always have to remember that that classroom is full of so many different personalities. Just look at our own house. I have 5 grandsons, and when I go to their house with all of them, there's so many different personalities and things going on. And a classroom has even more. We never know when they come to school if they're going to be super happy, or if there's been something going on that's made them sad, or if they're a little bit upset, or if they're just angry. And if you have 2 or 3 angry kids in your classroom, that really does change the personality of everything. So there's a lot to deal with as teachers. And we have remarkable ones here in the Crossroads area. I'd like to introduce to you Miss Gwen Hall. She teaches at Our Lady of Victory. And you have been there how many years?
48.
48 years. Now, you also went to Our Lady of Victory.
Yes, ma'am, I did. I went when I was in 6th grade, and that was the highest grade. And, of course, 7th grade, and I was in the 8th grade there. And I was in the first graduating class of Our Lady of Victory School.
So they added a year each. You got through 6th, and they added the 7th and added the 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
That worked out great.
Then I went back to Nazareth, graduated, and it was an all-girls school, so I was pretty shocked when I went to a co-ed school. I wasn't used to that. But I went to Nazareth, graduated from college, and ended up, Sister Emily Eilers hired me at Our Lady of Victory, and I'm still there 48 years later.
That's great. And that's right, at that time Nazareth was an all-girls school. St. Joseph was an all-boys school. And then after a while they merged so that Nazareth Academy became co-ed also, and St. Joseph became a co-ed high school. So that's a little history on those schools. So what college did you go to?
I went to Victoria, I went to Kingsville, and I graduated from San Marcos.
All right, and there's another plug for Victoria College. We see a lot of those ads right now out there in the community, so there's another plug for Victoria College.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you have taught a lot of kids in your 48 years.
Yes, ma'am, I have. And I taught my brother and his 2 boys, which are married now, and I taught my cousin and their kids, and I'm teaching their kids now. So it runs in the family.
Now let's go back to your brother. What was it like to teach your brother?
Well, he informed me at home, then he told my mom and dad that he would not call me Miss Hall. And I said, well, you're not calling me Gwen. And he said, fine. So in class, he would just raise his hand and say, teacher, teacher. And I'd say, yes, John. And he'd ask the question, and we got along just fine.
I guess I can understand that, a brother not wanting to call you Miss Hall. Yeah.
Right. That's okay.
So
we made it through.
Right. And then you taught his kids, and now you're teaching some other... No.
Yes, I did teach his 2 boys, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And some other family members, along with all of the other students that you've been teaching.
Right.
When you have you taught now, like besides your brother's kids, have you had a lot of students who you're teaching their kids now too?
Yes, ma'am. No grandkids yet, but
okay. Do they ever come with stories that their parents talk about when their parents were there and had you in class?
Oh yeah, they try to compare how I was with them and now how I am now. And of course, you know, the older you get, and you get a little more lenient and everything. So you learn all the tricks of the trade. So
yeah, I bet they come with some doozies.
We do. We have some good times.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I understand that you also started the athletic program at Our Lady of Victory.
Yes, ma'am, I did. We didn't have a gym, of course, and so basketball is what I'll really dwell on because, volleyball we just played out in the grass. But we had some parents, they put basketball courts up for us outside in the back parking lot. And so we practiced in the mornings, and in the winter, of course, basketball does become a winter sport. So it was watch the weather forecast, watch the TV. If it was below 40, we would not have practice, but 40 and above, we practiced. And we'd practice in the mornings.
Wow.
And so...
That took some dedication from everybody, including you.
It was cold.
So then you started competition, there were competition with other
right.
schools?
And when I first started coaching basketball, volleyball, softball, track, with volleyball and basketball, I was with mostly public schools, playing them. And then we got into the league with the Catholic school, and they still have that today.
I bet there's got to be some fun pictures back in the history of some pictures taken while they were practicing outside. These are such interesting tidbits of history.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, there's so many levels of talent in coaching, and I coached girls basketball also when I coached in Michigan. I taught in Michigan. And there's so many things on a team to deal with because you've got the team and each individual, and they have their different levels of experience and their different dedication levels and parents' expectations, and there are so many things to always deal with. So when I just know that so oftentimes it's not as easy to coach as people may think it is.
No, it wasn't. Now, I coached for 26 years, and then I quit coaching and really dedicated myself to the classroom. And I'm glad I did it because now I'm really into teaching the subjects and really getting even closer to the kids than I was when I was coaching.
Well, what subjects are you teaching?
I have 8th grade health, and I have Texas history for 7th graders, and religion. And in my history class, I'm teaching guidance. One day a week, I put guidance in there.
Well, what does guidance include?
Well, it's they love it because there's no homework, no tests, there's no books, no anything like that. But it's really getting to know each other, to learn how to respect each other, just all kind of know each other better, and just getting to know and know how to just interact with people. All kind of things we go into, and they love it.
And it really is important to learn how to interact with people, because when we don't have that skill, we oftentimes come across poorly, or we get angry because we may not be realizing it, but we don't know how to interact, and so we're kind of angry because we feel out of it or feel like we're saying the wrong thing.
Right, and in this class I tell them that you can say anything you want and it won't leave the classroom. At least it's not going to leave with me. And so they really do spill the beans, say a lot, and we learn a lot, and it's really good for them.
It's good to have a class like that. And
very much so.
Another thing about that type of class, it really is a bonding experience when you're able to laugh and talk about serious stuff together, and the having the fun along with learning is so key. Yeah. Okay, well, I understand that you have some morning duty, and I guess it's early birds.
Right, I call them the early birds, and this is 1st through 8th grade. And their parents drop them off at school from 7 o'clock, and none of the teachers are there at that time, so I have them in the cafeteria, and they drop them off, and they're waiting for them. And I dismiss them at 7:40, and I have 2 older kids that walk them to their classrooms. But it's just a joy. That's why I love going to school in the mornings, because they are such a joy. One story I must tell you, though, this little girl came, and she was sobbing, she was crying, and I thought, oh my God, what has happened, So I said, what happened? What's wrong? And she couldn't hardly get it out, but she did not get a hug from her mother because her mother had left earlier to go out of town somewhere and didn't hug her. And I said, well, now I can't, we can't call her or anything because she's already gone. I said, what about if I hug you, I'll give you a hug, and that's from your mother, and then this afternoon when you see your mother, you'll get a real hug, but my hug will keep you going for the day. And it was like turning off a water faucet. She just quit crying, and she said, oh, thank you, Miss Hall, so much. And she was perfect the rest of the day.
It's so often just the little things that we do that make a difference in a student's life, and feeling loved is really important. So that hug was huge.
Well, the other thing, too, every day, especially on Mondays and Fridays, we talk about the little boys. They love to fish and hunt, and I go fishing almost every weekend. So we compare, our fishing stories, and they love it. And they play games. I have to take balls in there, tennis balls and foam balls, and they just have a blast. They just love it early morning.
I want to go back to the fishing. Who has the better fishing stories, you or some of your students?
Oh, it goes both ways. Both ways. Not even Steven. Sometimes I'm in them, sometimes I'm not.
That's pretty cool. I think that would be a really fun thing to talk about. Well, when did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
Probably when I know for a fact I wanted to be a nurse, but when I realized that my stomach was as weak as it was, that I'd never make a nurse. So I thought, well, I'll just become a teacher. And that was probably my freshman year in college.
In college, at Victoria College?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I take it just from the way you talk that you've never regretted that decision.
Not at all. Not at all. And I've had opportunities to go to other schools throughout the 48 years. And Sister Emily always told me, she said, Gwen, you belong at Victory. And she always said, Gwen, money's not everything. And I said, yeah, I guess you're right. And so I just stayed there, and I'm glad I did.
You have made a difference, and I need to tell you this. When the kids would come, and I was at St. Joseph High School, and we would hear stories about Miss Hall this, and Miss Hall that, and Miss Hall. So when I was new here, I thought, I have got to meet Miss Hall. This is pretty cool, because we'd hear about fishing, and I would hear just about some fun things, and that you had a really good sense of humor. I also heard that they needed to behave, but that you were just one of their favorites. So the first time I got to meet you was really a big deal for me, because I'd heard all these wonderful stories.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, what do you see as some of the biggest changes in education?
Well, it's technology, and of course I'm old-fashioned, and I can't see changing because they love my classes, because they take notes, and we do a lot of discussing, and I give them notes, and of course they take tests, and they have work to do. But I do talk about a lot of other things other than what's in the textbook, and so people that didn't like history, well, now they love history. And so they do really enjoy my classes, and that makes me feel good. So I don't want to change.
Well, I understand also the note-taking, because so many of the studies have shown the importance of it's from the brain and it goes through the hand and you're writing it and then you see it on paper, and it really is such a good skill that we need. So I hope encourage everyone to do a little bit of writing maybe every day, because it is so important. And I think handwriting is
they do it
they
at
still
our
do
school.
handwriting.
Yes, ma'am. Another teacher really has them writing.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize that either in the handwriting. For some, it's just a flow, and life flows, and the handwriting flows. In the printing, it's stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. And then that's a whole different feeling, too, as we are writing. So there's a lot to be said about flowing and the writing. Well, what is something that you've learned from a student?
Oh, man, I learn something every day from my students. They help me with my smartphone because I have lots of problems with it. They help me with that, and they help me with my computer when I want to get somewhere and I can't get there. They help me. So there's not a day that doesn't go by that they do help me out a lot, and I appreciate it.
And they love it.
They're good at it, too.
Oh, yeah. And they always feel good when they've helped.
Yes.
That is great. Well, what is one thing in your spirit that drives you to the classroom every day?
When you know that you have made a difference in their lives, and being there as long as I've been there, I know that I am making a difference in many lives, because when I go to the store, wherever I go, I see a lot of people I know, and they tell me what a difference, and they're so glad that their child had me for a teacher, because they just really, really cared for me. In fact, last night I was going to a meeting, and a parent came up and said, "Oh, Gwen, I must tell you, her son he's 22 and came home this past weekend and he said, is Miss Hall still at Victory?" She said, "Yeah, she's still there." "Oh, she was the best teacher ever." He said, "I just wish she could have gone, through the years and taught." So, well, it makes you feel good, and it makes you want to go back. With me, school is all about the children. It's all about those kids. And that's what I pray every morning. I live a lone prayer. And I pray every morning that God gives me health to keep going.
And I really understand that. And it is the feedback for teachers. If we don't hear the feedback, then we really don't know that we've made a difference or what kind of difference that we have made. And that just energizes us to know that we've helped somebody, or years later when a student comes back.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, that energizes us. What motivation that our mission is being accomplished.
When the time comes that I lose that, and then, I lose them and everything, I feel like that's the time the Lord is telling me, "Gwen, hang it up." And I hope it's not anytime soon, because I love it. I love those children to death. Well, and I also want to say something too. The parents. I really respect the parents. The parents have been very, very nice to me, good to me, and I just love everything about them and their parents. Keep up the good work.
And it does take the parents right along with the teachers and the students. It takes all three pulling together to be successful. Yeah. Well, if you had any words of advice to give to someone who was going into teaching, what would you tell them?
Make sure that you're going there for the right reason. Make sure you're going there for that child, because this is our future. And if you're going there for any other reason, it's time that you find a different profession. It's all about that child. Not the smartest child, not the top athlete, but all children, no matter where they are on the totem pole. They're all important, and they all have a talent.
They all have a talent.
Yes,
they're all
ma'am.
important, and we may not even know that talent at the beginning of the year. It may come out during the year. And yes, that is the best advice that you could give to a teacher, for a future teacher.
Thank you.
Well, I would really like to thank you, Ms. Hall, for joining me today and telling us a little bit about your life as a teacher and a little bit about OLV, Our Lady of Victory. And
well, thank you. Thank you so much. And any people out there, make sure you send your kids to Victory. You'll be happy.
That's right.
So.
And she knows 48 years. I mean, she went to school there and back to teach. So thank you.
Couldn't get away from it. Thank you so much.